Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol I have to sing because Maharaj is here. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada.
Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacaka Stotra Satish Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacaka Stotra Satish Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Srila Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vande Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Radha Krishna Gopina Sham Kunya Radha Kunda Shri Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai.
Hari Hari Bol.
Which one you want? Small one?
I get allergies from all of them. Only God can wear those. Cartol. Oh, here. Yeah. Tell the lantern. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janaballabha Giri Varadari Gopi Janaballabha Giri Varadari Nana Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tirabana Chari Jamuna Tirabana Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Radha Madhava Astasaki ki jai Lalita Vishaka Sudevi Rangadevi Enduleka Chitraleka Champakalata Tunga Vidya ki jai Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavatam Tato Jayam Udirayat, first canto, chapter 6, which is further instructions by Narada to Vyasa, text 25 and 26, I think. What this is Vasanti Lak.
This is Trishto.
Yeah, it's which. Yeah, it's got to kind of. Yes, no, doesn't sound good ever, I don't think. Yeah, okay. Etavad ukvo pararamatan mahad. Etavad ukvo pararamatan mahad. Ramatan Maham Bhutan Nabolingam Alingam Ishvaram Bhutan Nabolingam Alingam Ishvaram Aham Chatasmai Mahatam Mahiyasai Shirshnavanamam vidadenu kampita Itavaduktvo pararamatan mahad Bhutam nabolingam alingam ishvaram Aham chatasmai mahatam mahiyasai Shirshnavanamam vidadenu kampita Boliega Etadavukvo pararamatan mahad Bhutan nabolingam alingam ishvaram Aham chatatna mahatam tasmahim Shrishneva Ramam Vidate Kampitam Ladies? Etavat, thus, uktva, spoken, upararama, stopped. How does that, is that one word, it's a compound word?
It's the verb is ram.
The verb is ram.
And upa is the prefix.
Yeah.
So upa ram is like ve ram, which means to stop.
Okay.
Stop and
Upara.
upa and then ram. But the ram is reduplicated to make ra ram. That's part of the
Okay, uparama. Upararama. Tat. That. Mahat. Great. Bhutam. Wonderful. Nabalingam. Personified by sound. Alingam. Unseen by the eyes. Ishvaram. The supreme authority. Aham. I. Cha. Also. Tasmai. Unto him. Mahatam. The great. Mahiyase. Unto the glorified. Shirshna. By the head. Avanaman. Obeisances. Vidate. Executed. Anukampitaha. Being favored by him. Being favored by him, executed obeisances by the head unto the glorified, the great, unto him also I, the supreme authority, unseen by the eyes, personified by sound, wonderful, great, that stopped, spoken thus. Right? Backwards. Yeah. Okay. Turn around here. Then that supreme authority, and of course it's describing how he's a supreme, personified by sound, and unseen by eyes, but wonderful, stopped speaking. Okay. Feeling a sense of gratitude, I offer my obeisances unto him, bowing down my head. Okay. So Narada Muni is describing his transcendental experience. He's describing his hallucination, right? Like that. That's what the materialists would say. You had some religious experience, it was a hallucination. These kind of things. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. That the personality of Godhead, Prabhupada says before he left India, was not seen but only heard, does not make any difference. The personality of Godhead produced the 4 Vedas by his breathing. And he is seen and realized through the transcendental sound of the Vedas. Similarly, the Bhagavad Gita is the sound representation of the Lord. There is no difference in identity. There is no difference in identity. The conclusion is that the Lord can be seen and heard by persistent chanting of the transcendental sound. Utsahan nishchayad daryat tat tat karma pravartanat. Utsahan nishchayan daryat. Nishchayina. Right? Nishchayina. Persistent chanting of the transcendental sound. So this is, just one verse out of the whole pastime here, right? The description of what's happening, this Leela of Narada Muni and Lord Vishnu and Vyasadeva. And of course, Prabhupada says that the Bhagavatam takes off where the Mahabharata finishes, historically and philosophically. And so now we're talking about more advanced topics. First off, basically, I think, Sutta Goswami answers all their questions, right? You have certain questions, they have certain anxieties, and he answers all their questions in the second chapter. Before, many devotees were memorizing all the entire second chapter of the Bhagavatam. It was just complete, again and again. How many of the verses Prabhupada cites and quotes are from the second chapter, like that. So, but then they ask the question. They want more details, more refinement, more perspective. And so then they ask, okay, you're saying that the Bhagavatam is the answer. Srimad Bhagavatam is the solution. But look, Vyasadeva already compiled, he took all this literature and made 4 Vedas. He divided everything up, made 4 Vedas. Okay. And then after that, he has Brahmanas, Aranyakas, and Upanishads. Okay, this is quite an accomplishment. You're applying for a position as an associate, as an assistant professor, right? You got to write up your thesis. So Vyasadeva, like that. It's like, well, first I compiled the 4 Vedas. Then I did the Brahmanas, the Aranyakas, and the Puranas. The Brahmanas. Okay, yeah. Well, that's not quite enough, like that, And then Then the Puranas to explain everything, and then after that he did Vedanta Sutra, which is a complication. Have anybody here ever read Vedanta Sutra? Have you seen it like that? No? Yeah, he's rubbing his eye there. Okay, yeah. You have 2 people. Well, 3. You read the Vedanta Sutra. Okay, you also read the Vedanta Sutra. Tattoo artist also. You can tattoo the entire thing on somebody's body, the Vedanta Sutra. Yeah. One time I saw what was, I guess, a translation, and it was supposed to be just a translation, but, if they had parentheses like things in there, otherwise, would have been like totally incomprehensible collection of words, right? And then, of course, I guess even the grammar and stuff and everything else, trying to get it into English language and stuff is a challenge by itself, So it's like, I don't know, so it's inasmuch, thus as. Is it something like that? Inasmuch, thus as. Oh, so. Therefore, forthwith. Oh. It's like, and it's just, it's incomprehensible to a cockroach. Cockroach trying to read the Bhagavatam, walking along like that. I guess a cockroach could be the Bhagavatam, right? It's going along. Yeah. Okay. So then the Puranas, histories, which tell stories to explain it all, explain the whole thing. And Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Bhagavatam is the commentary. It's necessary. Bhaktivedanta Thakur says, right? No other book is necessary, right? This one book is sufficient. But of course, the Bhagavatam also is coming from 5,000 years and so many perspectives, right? So, we have parampara explanation. How many major commentaries are there on Srimad Bhagavatam, according to the Catalogus Catalogorum? Yeah. 90? I thought 140. Yeah. Where they put it. Then after that is the Skanda Purana, I think, with like significant less. Then I was remembering, this was in Madras, the person was presenting, that most of the Puranas do not have major bhashyas like that. So, Srimad Bhagavatam in a category by itself, if you actually have any kind of education on the whole thing. Yeah, it's just all the scholars I know, secular scholars, Dr. Samaresh, other people, all admitting, it's just, if you start getting into it, it's just, now he's calling it the Hori Bhagavatam. It's just like so great. Yeah. So we're saying, Lord Chaitanya is saying that Bhagavatam is sufficient. And because it's difficult to understand, Prabhupada has the biography of Lord Chaitanya at the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's his introduction. And he said, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, it is more easy to understand the Bhagavatam. I would say, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, it is possible to understand the Bhagavatam. So Chaitanya Charitamrita is a Srimad Bhagavatam class. How to live with everything else and so on. Yeah. Okay. I was listening, I couldn't come to class yesterday, so I was listening to the recording, live recording. And Radhika Raman was talking about Hanumat Presak Swami said, right? And of course, ideas of Hanumat Presak Swami said that because he heard it from Prabhupada, right? And Prabhupada said that because he heard it from Bhaktisiddhanta, that's the class, right? But then I was realizing Hanumat Presak Swami is listening to Radhika Raman say what Hanumat Presak Swami said. It starts to become really convoluted after a while. And who's Vedavyas is, listening to what Vedavyas said. Yeah, it does become complicated. Yeah. So this point, Prabhupada is emphasizing this one point, that the experience, when you have it, is not like broken down. Of course, Prabhupada said of all the Western philosophers, Carl Jung made the most sense. And so it's been very productive. I've been trying to promote this in ISKCON, and almost nobody, nobody seems very much interested. Yeah. But Carl Jung, we're reading him. I'm reading the book that Shonu Shamdasani recommended. I'm still reading it. Carl Jung gave a series of lectures at the Caltech of Zurich. Zurich is a famous place, and I forget the name of the institute, but it's still one of the most premier science and technology institutes in the world, something or other. So Caltech and MIT, they have these things where the students are studying all this very technical stuff, very genius people. Then they have also requirements in the humanities. You're supposed to have a certain amount of humanities and so on. And so this was a requirement, I guess, and once a month, I think Carl Jung was on Friday afternoon or something, was giving a lecture on maybe the history of psychology or something. No, psychology, I think it was a series of lectures. I think it was the history of psychology and how it's developed. And the biggest hall on the campus, which I guess held something like 800 people or something, 600 people, was full. Every time was the students and also the professors. And one of his colleagues said, Jung, this is very advanced, the topics you're giving and stuff. And Jung had eliminated all the technical psychological terms like transference and all these kind of very technical psychological, psychoanalytical terms and all this stuff. But still, his colleague was saying this is, too much advanced for these undergraduate students and so on. But Jung said, no, I'm going to stick with giving them, the whole thing like that. And I went on over, I guess, maybe 2 years or something, and never dropped, even though the undergraduates and so on maybe sometimes couldn't follow everything, but yeah, they were following enough, and they wanted to, get what they could, and they appreciated, Okay, there were no tape recorders, right? Yeah. Jung had his lecture notes, which they got. Yeah. I think two of his disciples, I think both ladies, they were writing summaries and stuff. Then they discovered that 2 or 3 stenographers have been taking shorthand transcriptions. Shorthand, you know what that is? You know what that is? It's where you just, basically it's phonetic, and you're just going along, and you're just like, writing the thing out as it's going, like that, and so on. My mother was a stenographer. She was a typist who can do shorthand. Greg's was standard one, but people just make different things. And now you see court reporters, they're doing it by typing, but it's the same thing. It's a transcription like that, and so on. So they discovered 3 people were doing it. Then they discovered that there were very few people on the face of the earth who anymore could read it. It was becoming like hieroglyphics. It was starting to disappear. Wow. So they found one old person retired, and he said, "Okay, I'll do it." But every stenographer uses little different techniques, so he had to learn the techniques and everything else. And they got a grant from the Smithsonian, and it took some time, several years. People were dedicating their lives to publishing these whole things like that. So finally, they then put it all together and had the lectures and stuff. And then we were talking to Shonu Shamdashini, who's like one of the current acharyas in the whole thing, and he directed us to those parts where Jung was specifically talking about India, Asian, culture in the West and so on. And it's very interesting because he's talking about yantras and things like that, but they're matching up with the Bhagavatam things, and he's going into different perspective, and you can see, it's reality. And this is one of the fundamental points, that we're locked down into a little narrow form of intelligence. We have to try and understand the world around us, right? And so we develop, what the baby learns to try to understand the world. What babies see basically is a booming, buzzing confusion. One eyeball is going this way, other eyeball is going that way. So they learn binocular vision, what to speak of something else. And then here's a whole thing on developmental psychology and trying to understand. So you come into this body and you got it, and your mother starts talking, I don't speak that language. Wait a second, where am I? My mother is Vietnamese, okay. I see you got a human body, rather than So, we come into this thing, and then grammar. We start learning, a certain grammar, a vocabulary, certain phonemes, which stimulate the body in certain ways, And some of these things, the phonemes, if you don't learn them at a certain age, you can never learn them. You have to stimulate and stuff. So it's very interesting, it's prenatal education. I have a PhD in prenatal education. That's a good one. And then after that, it's the whole process, right? And different cultures have very sophisticated processes for dealing with these things at a very young age, which we don't have in the West. So anyway, we start getting grammar, and we're using Greek grammar. Our grammar is coming from Greece. Our grammar is coming from pi, right? Pi. You look up the etymologies of words, and it gives Greek, Roman, French, and it goes back, and then it says P-I-E. Pi. And who spoke that language? They may have, right? But because before there was the Aryan invasion, right? That culture came from the West and it came to India, so on. But the problem is that there's no more genetics for the Aryans in the north than there is in the south. There should have got it mixed and so on. But basically nobody is researching that anymore. No, and it's just kind of like even the momentum's kind of falling apart, right? It's just okay. But there's no way on earth that we white guys, right? Are going to accept that our culture is coming from a bunch of guys in Asia, right? No way. So therefore, there must have been something in between, in between Europe and Asia and the Mesopotamia and the Fertile Crescent or something like that, and they spoke this language, and that's why, you know, you find the same words in Spanish and French you find in, you know, dogma. He's dogmatic. They trace that to dokine, you know, I think it means that he who must be worshipped, you know, dogma, yeah. Anyway, so that's the whole history of the language, the culture, the development. And because we have a certain grammar, which is different than Chinese grammar and different than Japanese grammar, these are more like spiral, you know. You start with one concept and you keep adding to it. Like that. You ask somebody, you know, you come back to your room in the afternoon, you're staying in China, studying something, you come back and there's water and this and that, and you ask, oh, was there a fire across the street today? And your landlord says, many people. You say, was there a fire? Some of them wearing uniforms. Was there a fire? A lot of water. It's like an ever. Yeah, because there's like subject, verb, object. It's just like you just keep putting, you know, more and more things into the picture, you know, like that and so on. You know, they have to teach people who are going to be diplomats in Japan. They have to drill them in Japanese grammar. In Japanese grammar, I don't know if what is it? Google can handle this. I tried using Google Translates. It does Sanskrit now, by the way. I give it verses, you know. It translates them into English. You just take the Sanskrit verses from the Bhagavatam and plug them right in. It comes out, you know. So I did all the Upadesha and Rita verses. What was it? What? Dadati, Pratagrinati, Goyamyakari, Pritati. And it was pretty good, but it came down to the conclusion he enjoys in these 6 ways. Like that, right? Whatever it was. It was like, you know. Poor robot. Yeah. Artificial intelligence, God, sometimes the strangest things, you know. Yeah. I mean, it's nice, artificial intelligence, it's nice to have a human being in the end go through and like, you know, kind of like, you know, work on it, you know. Yeah. So anyway, you know, why not have people do this work? So we develop a certain, you know, way of looking because we have a certain language, a certain grammar, and subject, object, no, subject, verb, object. But in Hindi it is subject, object, verb. Yeah, the verb. And also I think German also. In Bremerhausen upstairs, a man to a woman on a Thursday after the soccer game was talking. It's like, sitting there waiting for the verb to show up. Yeah. So Narada Muni this verse is talking specifically about this experience. And I remember myself, I was going through all these things, right? This is reality. You have your experiences yourself. It's not just like some theoretical thing. So I was trying to find God or all the different kinds of stuff, whatever, and then I got Prabhupada's Krishna book, and I started reading that. And I think I visited the temple a few times, but that was in some, you know, the temple was more confusing. I mean, if I hadn't read the Krishna book first for 1 year, I would have been in a lot of trouble when I got to the temple because everybody had different ideas, processes. I mean, it was really, when you came, you're very fortunate to join ISKCON at this point, you know. Otherwise, it would have been a strange thing, you know. Yeah, okay, yeah. So anyway, I was sitting back in Sacramento, which is an hour and a half from San Francisco, and trying to work and everything else, my job. And I was going to become a Hare Krishna, and you know, strange enough. And I was working for Theron Stevens at that point, who was a Jehovah's Witness. There's one book, the Bible, one God. You know, it was very, very fundamentalist. So he was warning me that I was going to go to hell. You know, that this was all a deception of the devil, like that and so on. You know, being polite, you know. Yeah. And I didn't want to go to hell, and maybe I was. I mean, you see people who are deceived, you know. And people take LSD. There was this thing of devotees take LSD, you know. One devotee, I experienced it. One devotee, what's happening? It was in San Francisco also. He was taking LSD and reading the Krishna book, and he began to realize that, you know, somebody was Draupadi and somebody else. I mean, no, he actually began to realize them, and he was Arjuna, you know. And yeah, he developed this whole delusional system. It was a whole Krishna conscious insanity, Krishna conscious delusional system, you know. And he would go up to people and say, Bhima. And they would look at him, Draupadi, yeah. And they were like, what's going on like that? So anyway, then I think he told me, then he was taking prasadam with devotees, and then he was hearing how the devotees were talking about Jayatirtha. He started soaking his tulsi leaves in LSD and offering them to Shalagram Shila. Yeah, this is going to be like something like, yeah. And then people were taking the Mahaprasad and having spiritual experiences. Oh yeah, I got his head cut off. Yeah, I mean, you didn't know that. You chop his head off. Disciples chop his head off. Yep, you don't know that. Welcome to ISKCON. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was really strange. Aren't you glad you're here now? That's when Maharaj, you should become a guru. But Jayatirtha and I were born almost the same day, in the same place, and so it was like, I don't know. Keep my head on my shoulders. Yeah. So anyway, we were listening to these devotees talking about how Jayatirtha had been doing all these things and developing these delusional systems, and that's when he began to think, well, maybe I'm not Arjuna. maybe she's not Draupadi. And he stopped taking the LSD and came back to like realizing that people were who they were. Okay, yeah. So, I was praying to, maybe I'm deluded, maybe with the Krishna book, I was praying to Jesus Christ, because I had a lot of experience with him and everything else. I told this before. And so I was sitting there chanting in the morning and everything else, trying to survive as a new devotee. And then I had this experience, and the whole experience was about like this, the whole thing, Then behind me was Jesus Christ. Okay, yeah. You know Jesus Christ? that was the experience, and he was very tall, but the whole experience wasn't on the sensuous level. There wasn't any sound. It wasn't even on the mental level for that part. It was on the intellectual level, It was just like an understanding was communicated to me. It's like you see somebody and you see somebody, you know that you know them, and then suddenly you link up with their pastimes or something, activity. Oh, yeah. So it was on the intellectual level, And so the whole thing was, and I wanted to turn around, but at the same time too, I was terrified to turn around like that, Yeah. The whole experience was, and maybe other people have the same experience, something still similar. You want to ask me questions about like, is this bona fide, is that bona fide, these things, you're praying to me, you're chanting, those kind of things, Before you can talk to me directly, you're going to have to be a lot more pure than you are now. It was like, like, oh yeah. It's like, I could see all of my bhakti, all of my determination, all of my austerities were simply selfishly motivated in every respect. Yeah. And it was like, yeah. So the thing was, find any movement which will purify your heart and join them. It was a perfect answer. Hare Krishna, they don't smoke, they don't drink, they get up, they pray to God. Yeah. So go ahead. And then as you become purified, then you'll be able to determine more things like that. So in that case, there wasn't physical sound, there wasn't mental understanding, it was just buddhi being transferred. And there are many people who have report experiences like this. Paul, you have a bachelor's degree in mathematics, don't you? It's all coming back to haunt you now. Paul, I pronounce it correctly. Poincaré, he's a French guy. He was a mathematician. I think he was a very famous guy. Anyway, he said he was stepping down from the bus to the sidewalk in Paris or something, and from the time his foot left the bus and reached the sidewalk, he had this entire comprehension about how to solve one of the most complicated problems in mathematics. It came intelligence, it came buddhi, iconographic. And he said he just immediately ran to his thing, locked everything else, put everything out of his mind, and just avoided the bija from being contaminated by anything. Just, and it took him hours to put it down and put it in a section. We went the entire Bhagavatam one time in 1 year, 12 cantos, 12 months, right? And Vaisheshika got that from us. Yeah. When Tulsi Charana Sevited us, our disciple, 7 people started, but at the end only 2 of us were left after about three cantos. I wanted to quit sometimes, but he said, let's go on. Then he wanted to quit sometimes, and I said, let's go on. Fortunately, we both didn't want to quit at the same time. So we finished the whole Bhagavatam in 1 year. And the 3rd and 4th canto are tough. They're concentrated. But yeah, reading everything, purports, it's like Vaisheshika then calculated how much you have to read each day and so on. But it was, you're intensely associating with Prabhupada. Every day you're reading and being with him like that and so on. But at the end of the whole thing, I began to think, but there's a certain structure to it. There's like a logical structure to it and stuff. And I went back through it and again. And that's where we got, the thing of Manu talking to so-and-so. And it's very, very much well organized, the structure and stuff. But, this is on the intellectual level. So Prabhupada here is just talking about Narada Muni, didn't have to see Vishnu. He heard him. And when you hear him, everything else is included. So any comments or discussions about this? We have one more verse to do today. Shall we go on? Tacit consentit. Tacit consentit. He who says nothing gives his approval. Okay, what's next? I push next. And we get 1:626. Let's all chant it together. Namani anantasya hatha trapapatan guyani badrani kritani chasmaran gamparyatam shtushtya managata spriha kalam pratiksham vimado vimatsaraha. Okay. Thus, okay. Now here's his whole conclusion after the experience. Thus, I began chanting the holy name and fame of the Lord by repeated recitation, ignoring all the formalities of the material world. And it's so concentrated right there, what he just said. You always hear about the name and fame. What is the fame of the Lord? Name one thing.
Krishna lifted the Govardhan hill.
Huh?
Krishna lifted the Govardhan hill.
Okay. Name one thing. It's like one of these word puzzles you can get online there. Name one of the glories of the Lord beginning with the word omni. He is? Omnipresent. He is omniscient. Omnipotent. Yeah. He's also omnivorous. No, Prabhupada says in the end, he eats. In Bhagavad Gita, in the end he devours the brahmanas, everybody else. Omnivorous. We say omnivorous, but he's omnivorous. It is om. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So he's omnipresent, omniscient, omnivoracious, omnipotent. It's almost the 6 opulences like that. He's universally well known. One for that. Yeah. Okay, so that's the glories, and then Muhammad. Everybody has very nice descriptions of the glories of the Lord in the different ways like that. But do the gopis appreciate Krishna as being omnipresent, omnipotent? Uddhava was trying to convince them of these things, and they thought it was ridiculous. Yeah. He's got more. That's Paramatma. Yeah, Paramatma consciousness. Yeah. So going beyond that, then you begin to realize that there's different qualities, his fame. So Narada Muni, he saw Krishna in Goloka? No, he experienced, Sriman Narayan. Yeah? Which form? I don't know. Garbhodakshai. Which form is more intimate? Kshirodakshai or Garbhodakshai? Kshirodakshai? Who comes from who? The Lord expands himself as Mahavishnu. The Mahavishnu expands himself as Garbhodakshai. He's like the warden in the prison, Then he expands himself as Kshirodakshai with the prison guards and so on. Yeah. So we can realize this. I mean, some different people, you realize this. I mean, you're not afraid of death. Like other people, they don't want to hear about it. It's like, I mean, with Christians, and please don't talk about that. You're a Christian. Oh, I know. Like that. Take us quick, Lord. Yeah. But in devotees, we every 2 weeks we die. we have to fast on Ekadasi. We die. Oh my goodness, horrible. Yeah. Prabhupada came back from a program in San Francisco to a temple in Berkeley, and then he told his servant to make eggplant puki. You know eggplant puki? It's like a big pakora. You cut the bacon and the eggplant, big piece, and you have the batter made up with the basin and the milk, and and you fry it. And it's like a big pakora. Yeah, so Prabhupada wanted that. He said tomorrow we must starve, like that. So on. So yeah. So he was chanting the holy name and fame of the Lord by repeated recitation. I guess as he has heard from the Bhaktivedantas, I don't think he'd heard anything else, but maybe he was realizing it, traveling all over, seeing the creation of the Lord. Ignoring all the formalities of the material world. So sometimes you're chanting and it becomes, you start to become very enthused and you want to chant louder, you want to, very, very, so it starts to come. You want to roll on the ground, the Holy Spirit. And of course, Christians have this whole thing about the holy rollers, right? You heard about that, holy rollers? Yeah, the Spirit invades them and they're rolling on the ground, they're chanting and stuff like that. They start talking in tongues and, they have many of the symptoms we're talking about, they manifest in certain ways. And Quakers, why are they called Quakers? When they're called Quakers, because this Holy Spirit would invade them and they start quaking. Okay, yeah. In South America, they call it quackers, like that. Yeah, they sell it down there. You can buy Quackers oats if you want. So that's what a duck says. Yeah, it's interesting translating. For a while, there was a new cracker was coming out in Peru, and it was crispy cracker, and it was called craps. It lasted for about, I think basically they had to sell all the stuff they manufactured in the first round, but after that it was gone, stuff. And I was thinking, what a fool I wasn't to buy up boxes of this and I could come back and give people like crap. It goes on and on like that. I mean, before you give anybody a Sanskrit name in Latin America, you ask what this means in Spanish, right? Because one time I didn't do it, somebody else did it. It meant naked Devi Dasi. I don't know what it was, something like that, so on, Yeah, it's like, anyway, Spanish language, Hindi language, Okay, but so ignoring all the formalities, then if you do that, yeah, you're, it's a complicated thing because Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is explaining that different devotees have different kinds of hearts, right? Some have little hearts, some have big hearts. They're both okay, both totally transcendental. Some have hard hearts, like diamonds, and some have soft hearts like butter. Okay, So when they engage in vibhava, hearing the glories of the Lord, there's some stimulus. Your heart, if you've finally got through to the heart, if it's reaching the heart, has a different reaction. If you've got a big heart, it's made of diamond, then it's going to react in a certain way. If you've got a little heart that's made of butter, it's just going to melt. So therefore, you cannot be an acharya for the mass of people if you've got a small butter-like heart. Because what happens, as soon as people start talking about Krishna, you just start manifesting symptoms of epilepsy. Encyclopedia Britannica, I think it's still there. They describe the Bhakti movement. They come to Lord Chaitanya and they say, but he was a religious epileptic. He himself said, I have, yes, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, so greatest scholar can't understand these things, So did Prabhupada have a small butter-like heart? Sometimes, and Tamal Krishnamurti said, Prabhupada, sometimes you have these ecstatic reactions, and sometimes, we don't know what to do. And then Prabhupada said, but I don't do it very often. Because, he was trying to be an acharya for the whole world. It's good to have people like that who go out and, many times, you're listening to Prabhupada chanting and stuff, and just Jaya Radha Madhava, he's, you can look at him, he's absorbed, he's there with the gopis in Vrindavan. Everything's in that prayer, Jaya Radha Madhava, the gopis, Jamuna, you can just chant it all day long, And so, and his purports and everything else, they had to be for certain people like that and so on. So he was not ignoring all the formalities of the material world, But okay, maybe he was conscious of them, and he was ecstatic about, in India, I think Prabhupada wouldn't wear shirts, but in the West he would always wear a shirt. Because that's the custom, the idea like that, and so on. Many things, So, but for him, he was being restrained by this, or he was just taking this as an ecstatic aspect. I wear a shirt because that's how I can relate to people, and and so on. You can turn everything into your spiritual ecstasy. So even though it appears quite ordinary and fitting, So this is, you learn more and more. When you're traveling on the airplanes, moving around, do you chant loudly? What do you do? Who was it? I remember one time, there was one little girl. She was traveling on Southwest Airlines with her parents. And she started chanting very loudly, right? The Maha Mantra, so everybody could hear. I'm talking about Sugopi, right? Remember, as she told me. And then her parents were trying to shut her up. Like that. No, we got to chant. So on. So finally, when you got off, you said some ladies said your daughter's very nice and stuff. So the ignoring the formalities, to what degree we can do it. And because it's restraining the material world. You've got to be a certain, identify, what is it? Anumaya, pranamaya, manomaya. You've got to have a certain designation, or like upapati, designation, characteristic, the way you do things, and it's just, may not be what's happening. You may fall into the ecstasy of Lord Varaha, or the ecstasy of a cowherd boy, or these things happen, And so then we find that the acharyas become more and more reclusive, Bahudak, no, Kudichak, Bahudak, Parirajak. And Paramahamsa only preaches to higher Madhyamadakaris. Maybe sometime they'll come way down to it. Like that. So, somebody comes into school and is showing you how to. Some little kids has a lemonade stand, right? He's selling lemonade, and somebody comes along and he's showing them how to do it and advertise it and everything else, and helping the little kid and stuff. And the lemonade stand starts becoming successful, and people are coming by and just like buying lemonade, and the guy who's doing it is going shh, like that, That's Bill Gates. So, Bill Gates, having fun. It's like how to sell lemonade. Well, some ladies there were some ladies. What are these? Radcliffe, one of these exclusive ladies schools, ladies school, Radcliffe. And one lady said that they had a club on campus, and it was ladies high class Eastern Coast ladies school. Then one day, Eleanor Roosevelt, who was just as powerful as Theodore Roosevelt. I mean, they were, she was very powerful, very powerful. So anyway, she just kind of slipped out of the White House and, told the FBI to keep their distance, and stuff like that, And she just kind of wandered into the university, and this group was meeting their club, and she just wandered right into the club, and and she started talking what you're doing and stuff, and you're a girl, I'm a girl, and then she started giving them advice, and the club just started growing like anything. They got all this stuff happening, and she stayed out of it. They didn't know why it was happening, but suddenly the other club leaders are up against this incredible, strategy and backstabbing and all this stuff was going on. So Uttama-adhikari, sannyasi, paramahamsa, they come down sometimes, right? To explain these things and this and that, but mostly their job is preaching to higher madhyama-adhikaris, and that kind of stuff. That's the work they're supposed to be doing. So all of us here, should be coming to that stage. So it's one particular pastime with Narada Muni. Did we do the purport here? No, the next verse. I didn't do it. Okay, I read these beforehand. The life of a sincere devotee of the Lord is thus explained in a nutshell. By the previous verses. By Narada Muni, by his personal example, such a devotee, after his initiation by the Lord, or his bona fide representative, this of course means second initiation especially, that level, takes very seriously chanting of the glories of the Lord, nishta, of the Lord, and traveling all over the world, so that others may also hear the glories of the Lord. Or all over the internet. Such devotees have no desires for material gain. They are conducted by one single desire, to go back home, back to Godhead. This awaits them in due course on the quitting of the material body. Because they have the highest aim in life, going back to Godhead, they are not envious of anyone else. Nor are they proud of being eligible of going back to Godhead. Their only business is to chant and remember the holy name, fame, and pastimes of the Lord, and according to personal capacity. This is great. This is $1 million phrase we get today. According to personal capacity, to distribute the message for others' welfare without motive of material gain. So all this happens. After a while, I know different people, I'm thinking here is actually working for big software companies who actually finish off all their work. When you had to work 8 hours a day in the office, they finished everything off in 6 hours, and after that, they could have done more work in advance and got a bigger job, but they figured, why should I do that? I'm making enough money. So they would just put the Bhagavatam into Linux and sit there reading the Bhagavatam, and when their supervisor would go by, they would push this button. So the people, I know several, not just one, several people were actually doing Bhagavatam and everything else and so on, So everybody has their own particular nature, capacity, for preaching, for doing it, their own way of doing it. And somebody, Buddhimanta, he distributed more books. He had so many people, he distributed books from him. You talk to Vaisheshika, mention Buddhimanta, and he'll, my guru, but he's, again, I have some disciples. I mentioned one of my disciples here. I won't mention the disciple's name. See, I got away from the gender that way. But it's on a different level, of human being. Okay. The biography is out there. You can buy it. Mother Jambavati Devi Dasi, right? She's seen Lord Nityananda 3 times. And you read the biography of her, and we did an audio book to give me like that and so on the thing. We had a professional actress and Oscar nodders and did the whole thing and put it together. It's available. And she was describing it with Astasaki, and they were together partners and stuff. And she had done so much street distribution, she has no more calluses on her feet. She has to wear pads in her feet to go out. When she started off, at some point, it was a Christmas marathon, she was coughing up blood, but so she just would go out distributing books. And that's a good way to distribute books. If you try to get people to take a book and you're coughing up blood, they said, I'll take all the books you have if you promise to go back. If you go back and get more books and go out. You read the thing, it's just like, there are devotees like that in ISKCON. They're just on a different, I'm Radhika Raman. But these people is like, somebody walking, Nityananda was walking on the opposite side of the street, and after reading this biography, you realize this is not a weak-minded woman. Like that, just she said she saw him, and stuff like that, and so on. So So according to personal capacity, maybe in this life, maybe in this next lifetime, will be again, and our personal capacity will be different. Right from the very beginning, we'll get a birth into an appropriate family, right? To help us and everything else. And then I finish off here. I've heard Prabhupada said that if you follow all the things I'm giving strictly, and if your children follow strictly, your grandchildren will be traveling on flying carpets. Yes, this is a problem if you're a father and mother. Come down here. Yeah, Mama. Yeah. I mean, Kapila was acting like a little boy with his mother and stuff, but talking philosophy sometimes. Oh, but I'm your little boy. Yeah. So it's we're talking about this movement. How long will it take? Some people are saying a long time, but at the same time, too, Prabhupada said it can happen in a moment. The waves come, at least within a certain region or a certain area. Things can just take off at any moment. And we have to be. Prabhupada says yes. We learn to hang on, hang on when these possibilities happen. Suddenly you meet somebody, right? And the guy he accepts this. I had this experience. I met somebody in the bar coming back to the temple, and by the end of the whole thing, he came to me with the temple, bought a whole big bunch of books, and to go on Sankirtan and stuff. It's just, you meet people. So Narada Muni is giving in a nutshell. The only business is to go back home to become purified. And so you're not really concerned about, I'll get a job, I'll make money. It doesn't become your concern anymore. If it doesn't happen, it's because Krishna doesn't want it to happen. So you realize that my income's coming. Krishna's going to take care of it and stuff like that. I got to do something, but that's not what I want to do. Dr. Jariwala, he worked with Linus Pauling, Nobel laureate. After a certain time, he started just looking for, Dr. Jariwala, remember him? Yeah. He just started looking for jobs where he could make his money and be a chemist. So finally he was a chemist. He'd stopped working for Upjohn and all these big pharmaceutical companies. And he started working for this guy from Germany who had a pharmaceutical company with manufacturing everything from organic resources and was giving a lot of free medicines and stuff in third world countries. He said the whole atmosphere was different. Didn't make as much money, but it's just the kind of people he was working and everything else was just different. So Narada Muni gives nice examples. So thank you all very much. Anybody wants to talk more afterwards, we can talk more afterwards. Otherwise, Sankhya Purvakana Magana Natabi Kalavasane Katao. Now it's regulated time to honor Prasadam. Srila Prabhupada ki. Back home, back to Godhead.
I'd like to categorize your